Hey folks, and welcome to Rimworld 1.0. We are packed with mods and ready to start a brand new series called The Bad Guys. Now, what that means is fairly self-explanatory, but, I have been thinking about some rules and how we want to play this, which we will get to as they sort of come up. We bypassed the menu selection and stuff. We are doing Crash Landed, just the default. We are playing on Randy Random. We are still playing on Rough. I wanted to go up to Savage, but I feel like we're going to be doing a lot of hostile things that, in my opinion, make this game a little bit difficult, such as, we're going to be attacking colonies and trying to take them down. Things like that. So, maybe I should have bumped it up, but for now we're going to stick on Rough. I just didn't want this to end right away, because we're going to get, this group is going to be a little bit more reckless. We're going to be basically a pirate band, a hostile pirate band. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. And, we're going to be growing tons of drugs, attacking people on site, and, keeping neutral alliances strictly for the purpose of maybe trading, but even then, attacking if we think we can get away with it. So I'm also thinking this group will be in a hot region. We're going to be wearing dusters and cowboy hats. I'm a little tentative to go into the desert because I do really want to focus on drug production and growing and things, so we are going to pick an arid shrubland location. I've taken a peek around this for a while. That's kind of why we started here, because I didn't want to waste a bunch of time looking around. And I think we might go with this area here. Now, the thing I like about this is, for one, it's an arid shrubland. It's fairly hot. I did bump up the world temperature slightly higher than normal. I kind of wouldn't mind seeing this even a bit higher, but we are going to get, heat waves and things like that that'll push it into the 120s and higher than that. But the thing I like about it is it's mountainous this time, so we're going to be building like a Pirate's Cove type of base. We can forage for food. And, I like the granite and marble aspect. Those are the two main ones I wanted to do. Granite, because it's the hardest, or the strongest, basically. We're going to have a lot of enemies. We're going to be doing a lot of fighting, so I wanted strong materials to build with. And I also want to do some artwork, so marble will be nice for that. Limestone just happens to be in here as well. That's the second strongest, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm fine to see that. No caves, which I would have been okay with, but we're going to not do that this time. And we've got some agave fruit to forage on. We've got year-round growing, which I wanted to do too, so we can just keep it going, keep it going. Now, the other thing I like about this area is it's close to a lot of different factions. And by the way, given our bad guy status, one of the mods I downloaded is a faction control. The mod is called Faction Control. And I set it up so there would be, well, the number of factions you see here, at least 2 of a civil outlander, at least 1 of maybe 2 of a rough outlander, and at least 1 of each of the tribes, and at least 1 pirate. So that actually gives us 7 exactly. Okay, so we've got 7 factions to contend with instead of 4. Now, pretty soon these are all going to be hostile to us, but we are going to attend peace talks just to kind of lure people back to us, so we can double cross them yet again. That's the idea, at least. So you'll see them scattered around here. There's this impassable mountain range, this dark colored here, that we can't walk through. So for that reason, we're close to a road that kind of loops around. We can get to both sides fairly easily. We have access to a lot of locations, maybe whether it's to trade or attack, we can get there fairly easily from this location. We're still in the arid shrubland. And yeah, we're kind of near the coast, which I like for some reason. Although I did kind of want something a little bit warmer, but I think we're going to end up going with this one. Oh, and I did go to advanced and increased the map size slightly. This is default. I just bumped it up just a little bit, because most of the land is going to be covered with mountains and overhead mountain, things you really don't want to build under. So I kind of wanted a little bit more space to build our base, because I do want sort of a, formidable enemy headquarter base going here. So, in order to get the bad guys I wanted to start with, you might see some facial changes. I'm not sure what I think about this mod so far. It's called, what is this one? It's called Face Stuff, I think. No, is that the name? Sorry, I'm just looking at a list here. Well, I don't know. One of them is Rimhair, Nackblad Ink Rimhair, and there's another Face Stuff, which I don't know. It has a lot of expressions and things, which maybe I'm okay with, but I did want some additional variety in the way pawns looked. And if you scoff at this, I don't blame you. We are going to use Prepare Carefully. I did set up our starting 3 bad guys. Now, I have them loaded as a preset. They're called the bad guys up here. For some reason, the face mod kind of loads the beard and stuff differently each time. So I'm going to go... This character is going to have the mustache. You can still see it selected. It just didn't load correctly. And I believe it was a chin curtain. Yeah, that'll be fine for what I'm looking for here. And this character is not going to have any facial hair. You guys may recognize the inspiration for some of these characters. These are our 3 starting bad guys. Now, I've gone through and tweaked their stats to what I think makes sense for who they are, or what I was thinking of when I thought of them. They're a bit higher than you would expect. But one of our rules for this colony is you need to have one of the 3 bad guy traits, which is Bloodlust, Psychopath, or Electra up here, Cannibal. Unless you have one of those 3, you're not in our colony. But there is an exception to that. I was thinking about that, and it's going to be hard to kind of weed those out and grow our colony. So I'm thinking we're going to have 2 tiers of colonists. We're going to have our mains, anyone that falls into one of those 3 categories of bad guy. And then we're also going to have people that we kind of just use for labor, just regulars that maybe live in barracks, eat nothing but nutrient paste, and just are basically just used for their labor and for fighting as a front line. Not treated at the same level as our main bad guys. So we'll see how that goes. So first here we have Lecter, 47 years old, wine runner, sheriff. I kind of, there's so many of these to choose from. And maybe there are some that are more fitting, but I kind of wanted some that didn't... I didn't really want any of these 3 guys really to have skills they couldn't do. Because early on it just makes it pretty tough. But Lecter here is a passionate cook, artist, and intellectual. Excellent at social, but no passion for it. He feels nothing about it. I could have sworn he was a better doctor than this. I mean, he is a doctor. I think it's he's a psychiatrist, so maybe not the same medical care that you would need on the Rim. But I'm going to bump this slightly. We need someone to have doctoring skills. Good in melee. Everything else fairly low and no other passions. Hans. Psychopath and industrious. Good shot. Good crafter. Enjoys social and is good at it. And same with the intellectual. No real other big skills. And then we have Phoenix here, who's a bloodlust psychopath. Great shot, great melee, just kind of middling to low at everything else. And those will be our starting guys. They don't really have any relationships or anything. Our equipment is just the normal stuff. We have a cat, which I guess I'll be fine with to start. I'm not sure how long that lasts. None of these guys are really going to be doing much animal care, so the cat will be on its own. Not really something you would train anyway. Okay, so I'm going to put a quick cut in here because when I start and generate the world from here, I get a crash while recording, so I'll see you as we land. All right, we are about to land. I should have mentioned this right away. For this episode, we're just going to kind of go over what we're doing, go through some of the mods we added, and kind of go over our plan. If you'd like to just jump into as we start playing and building and moving forward, I would just jump over to episode 1 right now. But anyway, here we are, about to land. I'll give it a pause so we can look around. What is this? Mint map. Oh, I didn't know this. So that's one of the mods. Might as well jump into it now, although it's harder to see until we get some stuff built. This is... I'm sorry, Mint... Dub's Mint menus, right? So this will add some additional kind of menu updates to... Mostly I've noticed workbench bills and things, and kind of makes those a little bit easier to set up, or at least kind of review before you pick one. But I didn't notice this map was part of it too, so that's pretty cool. You can drag around. That's quite nice, actually. And I don't know what these dots are. Animal life? Yeah, it looks like just animal life. Yeah, maybe life in general. And is this showing? I mean, it's sort of giving away the ancient danger, although not that this is that discreet. But we'll close this for now. All right, here's an example of one of the mods we added. We added something called Real Ruins. Let me make sure I get these names right. Yes, Real Ruins. What this does is it pulls down bases from the server, other people's bases in real playthroughs, and kind of messes them up and scatters them in the world. And I guess they appear in your starting map. According to the mod description, they were going to show up kind of in our travels. Let's go, we got a lot more tabs down here. As our caravans would travel around, supposedly you can kind of get notifications that you've discovered some ruins and then choose to go investigate. You might otherwise get notifications that a kind of a pristine base has been encountered or has been discovered, and you can go visit, but supposedly multiple other factions are going in with the same idea to go loot and get what they can. So that could lead to some multi-team large battles, which I thought might be interesting. But as it works out here, it kind of can set us up with some easy materials right away. I mean, is this a royal bed? I mean, yes, it's poor, but it just needs to be repaired, and then it should be okay. But let's take a peek at what we're looking at. A lot of mountain coverage, as we'd expect. Wow. Tons of beds. Okay, so we don't have to build any beds anytime soon. This is a lot of ruins. Fallen Mountain. Is this still Overhead Mountain? Looks like no. So we should be able to safely disassemble that at some point. Got steel here. Lots of growing areas, which is what we wanted, because we are going to be doing a lot of growing. Cannot grow on the sand, but we've got a few patches of rich soil scattered around. Got thermal vents. Seems like quite a few thermal vents, actually. Just 3 up there alone. 3 more visible here. And then in the southern part of the map. I actually don't see any in the southern part. This might be the lowest one here. We'll have that selected. Double check. Yeah, just that one. So even though I was actually kind of liking the idea of, you know, maybe something lower and then building out, given the location of the steam geysers, I think we might change that. I would like to stay close to those. So anyway, first instincts, what are we thinking here? I mean, something like this could be cool, although there is a line that you cannot build past. You can go and mine this stuff, but you cannot build past it. So we would have to wall this off, because this does look like you can get out of the map that way. And actually, that's kind of cool. We could turn this into just like certain death for anyone that happened to walk in through that way. And then build out this way. We kind of have a little farming area out here. A couple choke points to defend. That is a thought. This I kind of like because there's a lot of sand here, so we could build on there. A lot of gravel. Things that don't grow, and then focus our growing out here. I also like being next to the Ancient Danger, because eventually you want to pop it open. You want to be close to your hospital and stuff, and typically it's kind of a nice structure that you can incorporate into your base. Although with these real ruins, it looks like a lot of that stuff is everywhere. I mean, there's a whole room down here that who knows what's in there. How is this for Steam Geyser? Yeah, there's up there. Yeah, I think we'll probably end up somewhere around here or here. Now, the other thing is you don't want to start too far from where you land, because there's a lot of crap to haul around. Moving early on, spending too much time walking back and forth early on can actually get you into some trouble. Although we are fairly close to this, so we might even start maybe tucked into this corner or something, maybe mine this out and get a little something going here to start, and then expand down to here as we kind of get settled. We've got steel nearby. You know, I haven't really seen much compacted machinery on the map. But the places to explore, beds to retrieve. Oh, there's some down here. Okay, just little bits. I forgot how much we start with. It'll show us once we land. We haven't even landed yet officially. But yeah, assuming we land up here, we'll probably stay in this general area. Now, the mods that we have. Well, first of all, let's just look at them. I imagine some of you might want to see the ones we're actually using. Now, these are the mod settings. This doesn't tell me exactly what is all active. So maybe I'll put a separate thing in. Well, I guess, I mean, I believe, but this doesn't show, not every mod has a setting is the problem. So this doesn't show all of our mods. So I'll have to get a separate list. Maybe I'll put it in the description so you can review what mods we're using for this playthrough. But I would still like to go over them because some of them are also new to me. Kind of explain the thought process behind why we have those. The first one is the mod manager, which just kind of changes how things look in your mod menu. You know, it seems fine. I didn't really have a problem with activating or deactivating mods before, but it's kind of a slick layout. The other one is ResearchPal. So if we go to a research tab, it's going to look a bit different. Things are grouped by color, I guess. It kind of gives you an icon on what you unlock, which I suppose could be helpful. The main reason for that is if other mods introduce other technologies, this I think is a little bit better equipped to kind of file them in so you avoid issues like overlapping and things like that. So we'll see. I also have a search bar up here, so we could, if we wanted to go beer, it just pops up right there. The other nice thing about this is you can queue things up. So we are going to want, we already have complex clothing. We're going to want Psychoid Brewing early on, although I don't see us planting right away. Given the heat, though, we are going to need power because we don't have enough wood on the map to make the passive coolers. So we would probably want either solar panel. Actually, you don't start with batteries anymore, so batteries would be number 1, for example. Left click to replace queue, right, but I think if I just click another one down here, no, that replaces it. If I shift click, right, left click to replace, shift left click to add. So now we can queue them up. If there's a few we know we want in a row, we can just have them, not miss a beat. Drug production is going to be up there, so maybe we'll get that going to start. And it shows you how many are queued up down here. Cool. So that's mod number 1. We've got the mint menus, which we kind of saw one example of here. I don't really know how to show another example until it pops up. It's sort of, it's kind of, mostly I've noticed it affects bills. So once we get a few production benches down, we'll pop that open and take a look at that. Another nice thing is something called ShowModDesignators. So if we go to the Architect tab, there's a few more things here. One of them, for example, is this pathing mod. Now, you could highlight tiles. Say I really don't want someone to go over a certain tile. I could just clip that down, and now suddenly this tile, according to the pawn, it is suddenly much harder to traverse than another route, so it'll look for another path. This is great for if you have, say, auto doors on your freezer on both sides and people keep cutting through it because it's the fastest way to go. Pop one of these on each door, and now they'll start going around and not draining the power in your or the temperature in your freezer, things like that. So jumping to head, that's the pathing tool. Now, this is not actually a good example of the ShowModDesignators. Let's see, where can I find? We have the blueprints tab. Yeah, you can like highlight and then save certain layouts. I don't know if we'll end up using that or not, but we'll see. Is any of this furniture from... Oh, I did add some extra floors. The fact that, I don't know, it seems a little overwhelming, maybe more than we need. But here it is. The mod manager is not... What it's supposed to do is in the tooltip, in parentheses, show you what mod is providing something new that you might not recognize. So actually, I don't know if mod designators is working as expected. I thought I took a look and it was, but as it pops up, we'll get to it. It's not a hugely important mod. We have Prepare Carefully, which we saw as we were getting ready. We have Faction Control, which we saw. Now we've got the 7 factions instead of 4. We've got this Numbers tab here, which basically is just like a list of stats. Once our colonists drop down, we'll be able to see their stats. Now, these are all customizable, so if there's something you want to see at a glance at any time compared through your entire colony, this would be the way to do it. So, for example, there were times in our last playthrough where I was curious, who is the fastest guy right now? So if we go to Numbers tab, well, we can, let's see, Inspiration, Aiming Time. Say Aiming Time's not on there, nor is their Construction Skill. We could come here and say Stats, Move Speed, and drag that. And now when we look at our colonists, we can quickly sort by move speed and see who's the fastest. So this is just simply an informational tab to get quick feedback on certain things you might be interested in terms of stats. And you can look at both colonists. Enemies. That's cool. So when you get raids, we can kind of see who their most badass fighter is, maybe, or something. I don't know. Prisoners, guests, animals, wild animals, corpses, and animal corpses. Okay. We'll keep it on colonists for now, and we'll tweak that as we go on. The work tab we have updated. Well, first of all, we'll get it to numbers. Now, we've added a few things here. The mod is called Work Tab by Fluffy, I believe. You can save a favorite, create a new one, or load a favorite. You can copy and paste someone's settings really quickly, and the thing that I really like is you can expand some of these. So say we expanded cooking. We could now have someone that maybe is a low-skilled cook that doesn't do anything besides brew. So what I could do is change all of their, like not let them cook at all, except, you know, make them like a high-priority brewer, although it takes a little bit of tweaking. That's something I'll probably mostly do off camera, but I will mention it as it comes up. But this lets you, you know, do something like that. Or in our last playthrough, we really wanted to get some smelting done. But as you can see here, smelting is the lowest priority crafting job. First, there's crafting spot, refinery, drugs, stone blocks, and then smelting is last. We really needed to smelt last time, and there was no easy way to kind of do that without maybe going through bills and doing certain skills or, you know, other ways. But now we could take a colonist and make them a high priority smelter and do nothing else, especially if their skill's fairly low. So I'm happy about that. And that's basically the changes to the work tab. I don't know what else about this might be new. I don't know if the time of day stuff was already there, I believe. Okay, we also have a heat map. So that is a new option down here, this little temperature gauge. I can click that, and since we don't really have any indoor areas now, you can't really see exactly how it's working, but at a glance you can see if any parts of your colony are too hot or not hot enough, you know, what have you. We can just toggle that on when we need it. We've got the color-coded mood bar, right? So these guys up here, which I can't select yet because they haven't landed, they are in the middle, so you know, the previous bar, when it got very low, it was hard to see. The color is kind of another shade of blue. Now, very easily at a glance, you can see, you know, how high up they are on this bar. Let's see, we've got the Path of Void tool, which we showed you right here, the pathing. So for disabling certain paths. We've got the Allow tool, which was partially implemented in vanilla. This unforbid everything or forbid everything was added. But the thing I like about the Allow tool is it has the Haul Urgently command. And that is a work tab item, and you can see Haul Urgently, Haul Plus, is now one of these, it's even above basic. So every once in a while you might see something and you just want to get it in, you don't care, you'll come over here, do a quick Haul Urgently on it, and that'll be that. They'll get right on it. Let's see. And it also includes things like finish off. Oh, here's an example of the mod designators. If you look at the finish off tooltip way over to the left here, at the end of that first paragraph, you can see in parentheses the Allow tool. That's telling me which mod this is coming from. So it kind of helps if something starts going wrong, you forget what's what. And the mod that's doing that is the ShowModDesignators mod. The Allow tool does all sorts of other things that I'm probably missing here. But moving on. We have better pawn control. This is something I'm very excited about. Now in the past, we would do things like, okay, everyone get in the compound for the raid, or animals get over here, this and that. Now you can kind of kind of save those settings and then just select them from this menu in the future. So let's see, this is called Auto, and this applies to all 4 tabs, even the Work tab. I don't see anything on the Work tab to select that. It might be conflicting a little bit. Because as you can see, there's one on the Restrict policy, there is one on the Assign policy, Animal policy, Robots, which we'll get to in a minute. So for example, we might want let's say, for restricting where you go, let's add a new Restrict policy called Raid. And we'll close. And now let's say for raid, we'll go to raid mode. For raid mode, I want everyone at home. Now, we only have 3 colonists now, so it's no big deal. But eventually we're going to have someone here, someone there, and it gets kind of tedious to reset all that. Now instead, okay, raid's over, go back to auto, and it automatically changes it for everyone. Oh, the raid is happening again? One quick button here. So I'm very excited about that. And that is good for things like, you know, changing our outfits, which I actually think I might try and utilize this for. I like the idea of our bad guys wearing dusters and cowboy hats. But pretty soon we're going to be wearing armor, and so the cowboy hats will be gone. But I'm thinking during peacetime we wear our cowboy hats, and then during raids we go and get our gear on. I mean, it's certainly a waste of time. Then again, the helmets, I believe, slow you down a little bit in your work jobs, so maybe there is something to be said for doing it this way. But I would like them to hang out in their clothing most of the time, and then when it's raid time, we can come over here, get our combat policy for outfits, and they'll go and equip those, and hopefully those will be near our front lines and things, and they can get changed before it's time, or it'll lead into some fun situations where we have to go into fights not fully armed or armored. We're always going to keep our weapons on us, but yeah. So very excited about better pawn control. Applies to our animals, and yeah, the assignments and the food restrictions. Because like I said, we're going to have a, for example, food restriction 7. I wonder why I'm starting at 7. We're going to have something called main bad guys. They can eat anything. And oh, I didn't save that at all. But I'll set that up off camera. They're going to be able to eat anything. But we're also going to have guys that do not have either bloodlust, psychopath, or cannibal that are still kind of working in the colony. They're going to be stuck eating just nutrient-based meals. Same with drugs. And in fact, our bad guys, I might have them say, like, hey, every 5 days, drink 4 beers at least, or something. We'll get drunk once a week or something like that. And all of these, so for example, the social drugs for the bad guys, all of these are going to be allowed. If you want to use Wake Up, Go Juice Flake, Psych IT, whatever, go for it. And so we'll have some addictions to deal with, I'm sure. Okay, so that's better pawn control. Replace stuff is nice. That will just allow us to... We don't have anything built, really. Say we have this wooden door and we want to build a steel door. Now, instead of destroying the wooden door and waiting for it to be taken down and then selecting it and then putting a steel door in its place, we can just put a steel door over this. And... so do I have to actually hit replace? Oh, I can just kind of select it and then replace it automatically. Wait, no. Well, let's say I claim it. I'll claim the power conduit too. I got confused about the replace stuff of a thing. Oh, so I can just do a material-wide replace. So if I had wooden walls and doors, I could just drag steel across them. Okay, so then I would like stick this, and now that would just upgrade to steel. That mod also comes with something I think is maybe a little too unfair, which is a cooler that just goes over the wall. Right, and that way you don't have to take down the wall before you put a cooler in. I did not enable that. We will have to do that. And you get the materials back just as if you deconstructed it and built it back up, although they do it in place. They don't actually do the deconstruct first. They kind of just build over it. And yeah, just kind of the reason I have that is because I often like say, okay, we'll deconstruct this and then we'll come back to it and I'll build something else there. And then I forget to come back to it and it doesn't get done. So another one I'm excited about. Where is my weapon is the name of the mod. Now when someone is downed and drops their weapon, after they recover, they will make an attempt to go get that weapon again. Defensive positions is another mod. So this one I'm going to let these guys land just so I can show this one off a bit. Here we go. So let's say we had Lecter here. You can see now in addition he has this defensive position icon here. Now to set the defensive position I have to get him into place somewhere. So say I drafted him and said come up here. Now and I want you to start every battle here. Maybe this is a sandbag next to a turret or something, what have you. I can come up here and say Shift plus click to set the position. Shift click. That has now been set. So now later on, when you're out doing whatever you're doing, I can say get into defensive position. It'll draft you and have you run right in there. And I can set this for all the colonists. So I could group select and say everyone get into defensive positions. So that'll be nice because in our last playthrough, there were a lot of spots where we would want to start fights from, and it kind of was a little time consuming to get everyone into position. Now it's just one button press after selecting everybody. And it does support more than one, which I'm sure we'll use. If I hit Alt plus click, now we have 4 of these we can save, which I'm sure we'll do at some point. Maybe a fallback position, maybe we have more than one entry point we defend, things like that. Okay, we have the animal logic mod. Now what this does, it doesn't really show us what we can do now, but it does a few things actually. Animal sleeping spot, for example. Well, yes, I can show what we can do. We can now make this medical if we want. So we can put a few animal sleeping beds in our hospital that are just medical. We can also assign the owner. So if there is a bonded animal, we can put its bed in someone's room and assign it. So that's now Grunge the cat's spot. So very excited about that. Colony Manager. This Manager tab. There is now a production item, which we might have to research. No. Basic Manager Desk. You can plop this down and one of your colonists can go sit at the research or sit at the manager desk and take care of certain tasks. Now, those tasks are defined here. And they are grouped by hunting, forestry, livestock, foraging, mining, and then eventually you can see power once you get a upgraded mining bench. You can kind of see where your power is coming from, how it's fluctuating. But say, for example, hunting. You can have it set up in a variety of ways. Maybe you want a target count of meat. So say we want to keep 500 meat in storage. Right now we have 0 in storage, 0 expected from butchery, and 0 currently designated. We can come here and say, no, we don't want to count human meat, don't count insect meat. You can restrict your hunting zone, so you don't go too far perhaps, and then choose which animals do we want to automatically mark for hunting once we're not at this threshold here. So we wouldn't want to do maybe Boomalope, for example, but we would want to say a cat. I don't expect to see any cats, that's probably just ours. Yeah, go ahead and hunt dromedary. Go ahead and hunt gazelle. And maybe even rabbits until we get going. And hell, even iguana. So I would go to manage. So that job now exists. It's going to update every day. Once a day, he's going to go over to the bench. And what he's going to do is say, are we at 500? Yes or no? If not, designate any of these animals on the map for hunting. And that'll just, now we don't have to kind of keep up with that. Same with forestry. If you want to keep a certain amount of trees on hand, you can have them, choose which kind of trees you want to cut down, and you can make it so it's only mature or not. Maybe a certain area you want to stick to. And then, so for example, let's make sure we always have 250 wood. Oh, well, it's 200 and 12. All of these trees are fine. Only mature. Anywhere is fine. Manage. So now he's going to come in, and if we're not at that threshold, he'll go ahead and start marking any trees that are available for chopping. But the thing I really love about this one is the clear areas. The nice thing about this is, say we have maybe an area where we expect enemies to come in. We have sandbags back here. We're going to be firing. I can set an area here and mark it. And then in the manager tab, I can say, okay, I need a clear areas job. Don't forget the wood logging. I want area 1 always cleared. Yeah, go ahead and clear wind turbine cells if it happens to be covered. And basically anything that can be used for cover. So certain plants it won't cut, but anything that can be used for cover is now going to automatically be cut if it's in that location. So that's great. So that is manager. Well, there are a few other things. Same with like if you're holding on livestock. Say we have a group of elephants that we're using to fight. Well, I don't want to keep more than maybe 3 adults, 2 juvenile males, 4, 3. Go ahead and maybe tame animals if needed to keep this count up. Butcher excess livestock if you want, but not if they're bonded or pregnant, trained, what have you. Automatically assign certain training to new animals, so you can kind of keep a steady supply of livestock without kind of micromanaging who gets butchered, who gets trained, that kind of stuff. You can even have it set which master. Either individuals or types of people. Huh, violent, non-violent, range, melee, interesting. Respect the bonds, yep. And if they're already drafted by it, if they're already drafted to either follow you during fighting or just during hunting and stuff. So there's that. Auto foraging is nice. Go ahead and forage anything you can get food from on the map. You can also designate mining if you need to get more stone. I probably... leave roof supports. You can automatically do that. Very cool. Okay. I was thinking I wouldn't do that because I don't want any cave-ins, but if they're going to do that, then it, you might want to automatically... Well, actually, for these kind of materials, that'd be nice too. So, maybe within a range, what have you. So that's the manager tab. Very excited about that one. I do have the hospitality mod, which you may have noticed from the guest tab down here, which seems to fly in the face of the bad guys. But I figure we are really going to have a hard time building up our colony, especially of our bad guy traits. So we're going to need to at least put on the mask of good guys on occasion to either try and recruit someone who we think could be one of our own, or even attack and rob, what have you, any guest that might wander in and want to stay with us. Plus, it's kind of fun building guest rooms and things. So we do have the hospitality mod. And, you know, given guys like Hans and Lecter, maybe not Phoenix, you know, there are times when they, you know, use their social skills to, you know, kind of get people to let their guard down a bit. We've got the Nackblad Ink Rimhair mod, which, and I think we have another one that I'm mistaking. We've got the stuffed floors, which is all these extra floor, you know, different wood patterns you can lay down, different tile patterns. It defaults to jade, which bugs me because it looks, just seems like it's kind of very distracting, but there we go. Different patterns we can use on our floors. I just wanted a little bit more customization, but we'll see how far we go with that. We've got something called Sometimes Raids Go Wrong, which I like. I think that's on here. So here are the settings for Sometimes Raids Go Wrong. I don't have the exact details in front of me, but basically when a raid comes, a 20-sided die is rolled. I believe numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 are 4 different things that can go wrong with a raid. So you have a 4 and 20, what is that, 1 in 5 chance, 20% chance. That seems kind of high, actually. We'll see. I might bump this up, but I kind of want to get a good look at it. So sometimes when raiders show up, there'll be a problem. They will encounter a problem that will either mess up their attack or, you know, make it harder for them. And I think at the very least that will be entertaining. So we'll see how that one goes. And I'll look up what 4 things can happen. It's sometimes they can show up. They can crash land in their transport pods, so they'll probably be injured, if not outright killed. I think they can show up completely drunk, or I think like one of their rivals can also show up at the same time and they'll fight. Things like that. So just for a little extra variety, I thought that sounded interesting. Real ruins we talked about. That'll happen on all sorts of different cells. I didn't really expect it to happen on our starting map, but we'll take it, I guess. A little bit of a boost to get going. Right, I have more trade ships, which I don't see an option to kind of tweak the occurrence of. But I figure given our proclivities, we're going to need to do a lot of trade ship trading. Especially because I plan on producing a lot of drugs for sale. But if every faction is an enemy, which I'm fully expecting to happen, that's going to become impossible. So, well, not impossible, just we'll have to rely on trade ships exclusively, which I'm expecting. But I feel like it would be nice if those occurrences were bumped up slightly. Now, how slightly, I don't know. We'll see how the mod plays out once we start using it. If it's like a daily call or something, I'll probably end up, you know, removing that mod because that's just too many. And then we have miscellaneous robots, just the base one. That means that certain traders will have robots for sale, only 2 types. Only a cleaning bot, and crap, I think the other one is actually a cooking bot, although it could be a hauling bot. It might just be cleaning and hauling or cleaning and cooking. Certainly cleaning is one of them. I don't know, but I like the idea of a little cleaning Roomba driving around, assuming we buy one. They're probably fairly expensive. And then we have, finally, the cleaning priority mod. Down here, we can open cleaning priorities. Right now, you always have to have one. Right now, home area is the priority. Well, later on, I might make an area for, let's say we add area. Let's say area 1 becomes an area where I have our hospital and our kitchen. I want that to be priority 1, and then do the rest of the home. Something like that. So, looking forward to that one. And yeah, that is about it. So, that is the end of the prologue. We'll start properly in episode 1 coming up next. And yeah, we'll see how we get on. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you then.